Hey guys, what's up? Cardtaco here, and today I'm here with another deck profile. This time around, we'll be doing a deck profile on the new Victor deck. This mainly focuses on using winning champ Victor as your first stride. And actually, a lot of times, if your opponent overextends and does too much damage to you, you can end the game pretty fast if you have the right board. So this deck is very fun to play. It's one of the decks I'm more comfortable with out of the new set, and I know I just really like to play this deck. It's one of my new favorite decks to play. Don't ask me why. I just think it's pretty fun. So for the starting Vanguard, we are running Kabutron. So he's the rare from GPT-06. You can run Vic Head if you want to have some extra counter charge, but I think Kabutron is a very good good card as a backup for your plan in case you can't withstand as many times as you want, or you don't have the right pieces. So he's quite good for that. I just like to keep him around. It's a very versatile card. Next, we are running 4 of the new Victors. So this is the new Victor that can help you draw before you call. So the skill is kind of last one. If a unit starts out of this card, you may pay the cost. If you draw a card and choose a card from your hand and call it to a Vanguard circle, and then during this turn, you can choose one of your units and give it the skill Vanguard or Rearguard circle. Once per turn, you can, when this unit attacks, choose one of your rearguards and one of your other rearguards and stand it. Or stand it. And then the second skill is, at the end of turn, if you have a damage, if your face-up damage is less than 1, you can countercharge 1 or less. You can countercharge 1, and then if your soul is 1 or less, then you can soul charge 1. If you do both, then you can draw 1. So obviously he's very good at replenishing your resources, because this deck does use a lot of Soul Blast and Counter Blast. So it is definitely helpful. Most of the time, though, you're going to win turn 1 or first stride or second stride with this deck, because you can just restand so many times with pretty decent power. I of course not counting that I'm up against a lot of control decks, but even now, this deck has ways around control decks, which is very helpful. Next, we're running 3 of the new, or the old Victor, well, the semi-newish Victor that's not the oldest Victor. Anyway, his skill is Rush, Vanguard, Vanguard Circle, GB2. When this card is withstand by one of your card effects, you can, your whole front row will get plus 2,000 power. So obviously, that is kind of helpful. You're not going to call this all the time, but in case you are in need of attacker, he can always fill in that gap. Second skill is, on your when your Gene destroys this card, you may pay the cost. If you have a if you choose one of Vanguards, and then you get a new skill, and that skill is once per turn. So last one, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, oh jeez, and pay the cost. If you do, choose one of rush unit rearguards and restand the whole column, the units in the whole column. So he's obviously your backup now. He's not bad though. If you're trying to him, you do run a lot of rush rearguards, so it's not too big of a problem. For the grade 2 is running 4 Sever Temper. Don't need to explain too much about him because he has been pretty, in pretty much most of the Victor builds as after he came out. Good at retiring units. Well, it's not super consistent about retiring, but his power gain is very consistent. And keep in mind he is GB2 though, so some people always forget about that. But yeah, he is GB2 instead of GB1 like Shazanda. Next, we're running 4 Golsachi. This is the 4th one here. So, he is a new addition to the Victor deck. He's a triple rare from the extra booster, and his skill is, if you're Victor Vanguard, during this turn, this card gets a new skill. It's a passive skill. So as long as you have a Victor Vanguard, he gets a skill. He has resist, and then he also have the second skill, which is once per turn, count lost 1. When this card attacks, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your rear guards and stand it. So that, and the second skill is actually pretty good, which is Rush. Once per turn, GB2. Well, when this card is stood with a card effect, one of your card effects, this card gets plus 7,000 power. So basically, if you restand it, and he's pretty much a 16k column by himself, which is very nice. you know, because you might use your Jiro Hawk to restand it, so then you get an extra attack. Most of the time, you're going to want Jiro Hawk to restand your Zephyr Temper, but you know, if you don't have Zephyr Temper, then he's the next best thing to use. Next, we are running 3 of the Ninja Extreme Battler. So his skill is, once per turn, Generation 1, counter +1 when discard attacks. If you have a Victor Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, stand one of your rear guards, and then one of your other rear guards. All of these are other rear guards. They can't stand themselves. For every face-up G-Zone you have face-up in your G-Zone, then this card gets plus 2,000 power. This card and the card that restood gets plus 2,000 power. So it can stack up very fast. It's kind of like a replacement for White Hank, but his power build-up might be a little bit slow in the beginning, so you might want to save it for later. But most of the time, this deck can finish your opponents off in the first or second stride, depending on how much damage they give you. The more they give you, the more fun you're going to have, as long as you have the right combo pieces. Which, I'll explain later. But yeah, we're running 4 Jiro Hawk. This card is kind of like a Jeffrey clone. So his skill is counter +1, Generation 1. Move this card into Soul. When this unit boosts a rear guard at the end of the battle, if you have a Victor Vanguard, then you may pay the cost. If you do, draw a card, and the unit that this card boosted gets to restand and gets plus 2,000 power. So if you boost 9k, then at the minimum it'll be a 11k attacker. In the case of Zephyr Temper and Gosachi, they'll be plus 2,000 more in addition to their thing. So most of the time, they're gonna, after you restand, they're gonna force at least 10k guard out, assuming your opponent didn't get a trigger in their damage check. Next, we are running 3 Guns Done. So some people might like to run Malayaki instead for the power stacks, but I think he is pretty important because there's a lot of control decks roaming around. So you want to protect your Sever Tempers and your other thing. This guy has resist, but this card basically, his first skill is once per turn, Generation 1, rest this unit, and then choose up to 5 rear guards, and they all get resist. And the second ability is when this card is stood by one of your card effects. For every card you have it face up in the G zone, this card gets plus 4,000 power. So this card can be a backup attacker if you really need it to be, because as long as you have one face-up G unit, then he's going to be at least 11. So, worst come to worst, right? You rest it in the front row, and then you use this card's effect to stand this, so it'll get the power. And then you might have this, and then you can restand it. It won't get the power again, because it's only once per turn, but he's okay. He's okay. He's okay. He's an IT card. Next, we're running 4 of the Stride Fodders. Just in case you can't stride, you can always use these to stride instead. In case you're not with grade 3, sorry, my bad. But yeah, it's this is the grade 1 lineup that I quite like. Some people like, as I said before, they like Malayaki, but I kind of like to take him out of this particular build just because of the control deck-based meta. You know, it's not going to stick around that long, and it might get blown up by something else or locked by something else. Especially, you know, Link Joker, they can lock back row. Overlords, they can blow up back row. So it's not super reliant. But yeah, you know, these things, they disappear. This thing can give you resist. So they're not targets for locked, or you know, at least it gives you a little bit of protection. But if you're playing in a meta that doesn't have a lot of retiring decks, then feel free to take these out for Malayakis. Then you can get a little bit of power. But it's just my own recommendation, I guess. For the Perfect Guards, we're running 4 of the new Meteor Kaiser Perfect Guard. Kind of last one, you can draw a card, which does come in really handy, actually. So yeah, as long as you have Victor Vanguard, you can enter this battle You can counterblast 1, and then you can draw a card. So, yeah. And most of the time, you're going to have at least one counterblast open because of Victor's skill. If you have all your counterblasts face down, then you're at least going to have one to use his skill. And after you use that, you can use a G guard to countercharge to this G guard. Anyway, I'm going to finish up the trigger lineup first. So for the trigger lineup, we're running 4 of the Victor crit, 4 of this crit that helps you unlock stuff, or unflip stuff. So you choose 2 of your cards in your circles and then your damage, and you can choose a total of 2 to flip face up. So it can also help you countercharge if you really need it to. And also it gives you soul, so that's nice. Next, we're running 4 draw triggers, 4 Margot clones. Give you soul and also bump your Sever Temper to 12k. So if you are planning to use it to attack your Vanguard by itself, it can. And we're running 4 heals. You can pretty much run any heal. It doesn't really matter too much. This does give you a little bit more leeway for your counter blast and soul blast. So that's nice. For the G zone, we're running 2 Winning Champ Victor. Now this card is amazing. It's so delicious. This card's skill is Soul Blast 1. Choose one of your units face up and flip the face up, and then that's the cost. And when this unit when one of your regards withstand, you can pay the cost. And then during this turn, discard unit, and the unit that boosted gets plus 5k. And the second skill is when this card attacks at the end of the battle, you can draw a card and then choose one of your opponent's units with less power and retire it. So you can do some wombo combo stuff with this thing because it's not restricted once per turn. So as long as you withstand stuff, you can prop his skill. So prop his skill it gets really. Yeah. So actually, he retires the unit with the least power, but a lot of times it's going to be probably a booster or something. So, or if they have no boosters, then you can just retire their interceptors or something. But anyway, so yeah, you can keep using a skill to prop your skills, and then if you have a Sever Temper, then you can get plus 10k when it withstands as long as it's GB2. So it's pretty good. You're gonna get some pretty scary numbers, and most of the time you're gonna use you're gonna G flip your Meteor Kaisers. I do run it in this deck. It's I'll explain why later. So we're running 2 of the other GR Victors. You can run in 1 if you want. I'm running 2 just in case. But yeah, not much to explain here. I did the deck profile on him before, but you can run 1 if you want and play an extra Winning Champ or a extra Meteor Kaiser, Bustard. Yeah, I meant Bustard when I said Meteor Kaiser. Next, we're running 2 of the old Victors just in case. You know, you have no counterblast. He doesn't cost any counterblast, so you can just use him instead. So pretty much 2/2/2. It's kind of a weird lineup, but I know. Next, we're running 1 Stark. When shit hits the fan, he's your boy to go into. Next, we're running 4 Meteor Kaiser Bustard. Most of the time, you're going to flip at least 2 on your first Winning Champ stride, so these will be the cards that you flip up. The reason why I plan to run 4 instead is just so that if you do restand twice or 3 times, you can flip 3. So then, if you do plan to go into Victor Bustard, you can stand 3 instead of 2, but it's up to you guys. I might do a little bit of a change later on, but you know, it's been working out pretty fine for me so far. So of course we are running 3 Bustard. Don't need to explain about him, but he's basically your restander, and he also withstands your regards. Kind of like a less powerful version of him, but the thing is, you don't need to. This card kind of costs a lot of resources. It is an amazing card, but it does cost a lot of resources. So if you don't have those resources to spare, then you can go into this budget version instead. Next, we're running 1 of the GB8. You do get to use him pretty fast in this deck because of how many cards you unflip every turn. go to him by like GB, the second stride or third, maybe not second stride. Depends, maybe second stride, but most definitely third stride you'll be able to use him. But yeah, most of the time you're gonna win by second stride anyway though, so don't need to worry about him too much. But I did use him once or twice, and it's pretty funny. Next, for the G zone, or not, for the G guards, we're running 2 of the 1 meteor colliders that help you slow charge and then flip. He's nice, very nice for getting your resources back. Next, we're running the FC one that helps you G flip and also helps you counter charge. And running 1 of these that can help you unflip cards in your circle or damage zone. So he's pretty clutch actually. I'm running 2 just because of how clutch he is. Sometimes you run 1 and it's like, oh, but I want to use it again, and then there he is. Mainly just because it's how many Link Trigger players are around my area. That I'm running these just as a failsafe. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck profile. Sorry for having not posting on such a long time. I've been very busy. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I'm going to probably post something. It's Chinese New Year soon, so I'll have a lot of free time then. And I'll have a lot of free time to playtest, hopefully. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck profile. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Cardfight, and I'll see you guys later.